Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. By now, I'm sure that most of you have heard that the No Kings protests that are supposed to be going on coast to coast have been taking place. It's been all over the country, and yet for some strange reason, something seems to be missing. Oh yeah, authenticity. Somebody in the DNC is trying to recapture the power of the 2020 uprisings. That's what this is. Because the truth is that Donald Trump's open bigotry during his first term lent itself to people making him not just the focus of the push to punish the police, and to be sure, he made himself an easy mark on that one, but there were also Democratic operatives who pushed the narrative that Donald Trump was the cause of what the police were doing. And sure, he was a cheerleader for them. They definitely didn't feel demoralized with him in office. But Donald Trump was not the driving force behind it. There were police killing black folks long before the Orange Man got into the White House. And yet, a lot of people conned themselves into thinking that once Trump was out of office, there would finally be some changes. Okay, they got what they wanted. Biden and Kamala Harris were put into office, and what happened? Biden's very first move as president was to redirect COVID funds to be put in the hands of the very police thugs that the public was protesting. That and also ignoring all of the phony campaign promises that he had made to black voters. All those folks who were in the streets who were thinking to themselves that Biden was going to be intimidated lest he displease those voters, man, he could not wait to give them the middle finger. That's the reason why Donald Trump got back into office. Because the people who had been out in the streets protesting and fighting against injustice, they could clearly see that their votes were not going to translate into the policies that they wanted. And that's the reason why they stayed home 4 years later. Americans by and large vote on lunch pail issues, pocketbook issues when it comes to elections. And Donald Trump has largely talked himself into a corner because of his big grandiose promises and all of his tough talk. The proverbial price of eggs hasn't gone down, and the other cost of living issues have also not been alleviated. And because of the fact that he's playing havoc with his policies, the tariffs and everything else, it's making it where it's very easy to point at him and say this guy is the cause of a lot of these problems, largely because he is to an extent. But what about the Democrats? What are they saying that they're going to do about any of all this? Nothing. Hakeem Jeffries, he's basically saying, once Democrats retake Congress, we're going to have common sense policies to benefit the American people. Just more gibberish, more hot air, more word salad. People are talking about the cost of living, meaning the cost of housing. What have the Democrats said that they're going to do about the big institutional investors like BlackRock, Blackstone, Vanguard, and others who have been buying up not just entire neighborhoods, but also buying up apartment complexes and such and fleecing the American people? What have they said they're going to do about it? Absolutely nothing. And if nobody is able to actually say what the Democrats are going to do if they get back in office, then these protests are nothing more than an exercise in futility. And sure, I am certain that a lot of the people who turned out to demonstrate over the weekend were genuinely there of their own volition, but I'm also sure that when I consistently see signs with the exact same language on them, that's coordinated messaging. That's what it smells like to me. Sounds like the eggheads over at DNC headquarters, you know, the ones who always get it wrong. They were probably sitting there going, we've got some focus group testing that says if we put certain words, this is going to motivate people out in Poughkeepsie or something. That's what it smells like to me, especially when I see stuff saying no ICE. I mean, for God's sake, you're in New Hampshire and you're objecting to ICE? How the hell does that work? You got a whole flood of illegal aliens there that you're worried about? Come on. When you see stuff like that, that's how you know that somebody said, go ahead and write this down and make sure you stand in front of the cameras too, front and center so everybody can see you. This is political messaging that's meant to reach a particular constituency. But you better believe that constituency is a non-black constituency. That's who they're trying to reach. But the joke's on the Democrats, because protests without a political policy that speaks to the masses is a study in political masturbation. It goes absolutely nowhere. Oh, there were allegedly millions of people who turned out over the weekend to stand around, to chant and vent their rage at the Orange Man, but so what? There were far more people who turned out to protest W's war in Iraq. Remember that? All of those millions of people around the world, all of those people who were clogging the streets of every major city in the United States, there was no way to control it. And yet, for some strange reason, that didn't change the outcome of the 2004 presidential election. It didn't change anything. Yeah, they were angry. They were shaking their fists. There were untold millions of people who were in the streets. And if that didn't change anything in 2004, you better believe a smaller number today is going to change even less. Did the Occupy Wall Street protests change anything? No. This is what happens when you get a bunch of pasty white folk who are out there, and they're all hot and bothered about their favorite hobby horse, be it abortion, or be it war, or be it illegal immigration. But when it comes to actually motivating a critical mass of people to the polls, these guys fall flat. The only times when things went the Democrats' way in these elections due to protests was in 2008 and then in 2020, and both of those had to do with black voters. Black voters who were silly enough to support Barack Obama and then were angry enough with Trump's antics to throw him out of office. Without black voters, Democrats are impotent. But they see black voters as the real enemy, not the GOP, and that's the entire problem. They'll make some noise about Trump. Oh, he's a fascist. Oh, he's racist. Oh, he's this, that, and a third. And yet they'll fall on their swords, though, to avoid producing anything for black voters. What that means is Trump's fascism and his racism isn't the problem. The political demands that black voters are making, that's the problem. When you see the Democrats sitting here talking about there's going to be demonstrations against the ICE raids and there's going to be a No Kings protest, this is them trying to galvanize and gin up some non-black constituency, trying to cobble together all of these disparate factions, none of them actually catering to black people's interests, none of them even concerned with black people's interests. And yet that's what the Democrats think is going to actually propel them back into power. This is the DNC continuing their preparations for the 2026 midterms. They don't have a slate of policies. They don't have a policy agenda. It's going to basically be just one half-brained PR stunt after the other. What they should be doing is actually confronting the issues that they refuse to deal with for the last 4 decades at least. Basically, all these rallies are is a get-out-the-vote effort. Well, elections aren't won by protests and rallies. They are won by political momentum, but that momentum has to be behind an actual policy, and that momentum has to actually be going somewhere. In 2020, you had black people who were just so sure that after the uprisings that took place, the Democrats were finally going to do right. That's why those protests actually translated into an electoral victory. But when people realized, these votes are not actually going to change anything, that's when they sat down and stayed home. Protests are supposed to have a sense of mission and purpose. It's not supposed to be a carnival atmosphere, and it's damn sure not supposed to be a sideshow. But that's what it becomes when the people who organize your protest are pure astroturf. These are the exact same geniuses who thought that Kamala Harris dancing to Cardi B was a winning move. The same morons who thought that bringing out Beyonce and Taylor Swift would cinch the election for them. Hell, these are the same people who during W's administration thought that bringing out Bruce Springsteen was somehow going to be galvanizing voters. These guys basically do one half-brain tactic after the next, each one of them falling flat, and when they inevitably lose the election, what they do is they start pointing the finger at their own voters. They don't point it at the egghead strategists whose so-called plans were damned to fail from the beginning. They don't point it at their candidates who nobody asked for, nobody wanted, and couldn't get support for any reason. Instead, they point to the voters and their demands. You guys are a fringe. You guys are costing us elections. Nobody likes the stuff you're saying. Defund the police. Oh, nobody likes that stuff. And yet, the last time the Democrats actually were winning big was when people were saying defund the police. What happened over the weekend is yet another example of Democrats preaching to the choir. The people who were loving that stuff and eating it up, these are folks who were already against the orange man, and the people who they want to galvanize into action, they're not going to be motivated by this. But this is what you're reduced to when you refuse to present the policies that your constituents actually want. You have to resort to empty spectacle. What's required in this day and age are real policies, transformational policies, things that are going to change the status quo at the basic level. That's what's called for. But Democrats are not trying to change the status quo, they're trying to maintain it. And that's the reason why they keep losing. Protesting Trump isn't going to change the outcome of next year's election any more than prosecuting Trump changed the outcome of last year's election. But this is what the DNC does, the same thing, only more of it. Now, they do know exactly what they have to do in order to get back into office. That's what they made clear in 2020. They know what they have to do. But as far as they're concerned, the war isn't against Trump. The war is against black voters and their unrealistic demands, their terrible demands, their unpopular demands, their demands that cost Democrats the election, except the last time the Democrats actually won an election was because of those unrealistic, unpopular demands. As the Democrats see it, it's not important to win office. What's important is to win it the right way. And the right way means in a way that doesn't offend the donors and doesn't upset the status quo. This is a political party that decided it would much rather commit suicide as opposed to doing what it needed to do to regain power. And that being the case, I say let 'em. And as for the folks who are out there in the streets who are screaming and yelling and thinking to themselves that that's going to change something, they need to get realistic. No matter what the likes of MSNBC and CNN may try to tell you, the reality is the No Kings protests are also having no effect either. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Sakina Collins, Sean, LB, Michael, and Otis Pimpleton. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.